welcome to Monday Maths. This morning we're going to be doing multiplying by 3-digit numbers, which you have done before, so there shouldn't be any great surprises here. We're going to start with our in focus task, which we're looking at a little girl here. Let's call her Betty, who makes a drink by mixing 4 bottles of fruit juice in a container. How big should the container be? So there are 473 millilitres in each bottle. What do we need to calculate? So hopefully you figured out that we need to do a calculation of 473 times 4. So we're going to have a look now in Let's Learn at the different ways we can do it. So the first way, they've written 473 times 2. Have a think about that. Why do you think they've asked us to work out times 2 when we need to know times 4? Okay, so hopefully you've figured out that times 2 is going to be easier than times 4, and when we get our answer we can double it. So this is one method you could consider using for answering this question. So as you can see, they've written it as a column method. They've made sure that their numbers are neatly lined up into the correct columns, and they've written the multiplier 2 in the ones column because that's where it belongs. Let's have a look at the next slide. Okay, so we start off by multiplying the ones. 2 times 3 is 6, and the 6 goes into the answer part of the ones column. And then moving on to multiplying the tens, 2 times 7 is 14. So obviously here we have to rename the 1 from that 14, which is actually 100, into the hundreds column, and that's shown quite well in this diagram here, where it shows you they have 14 tens now, and you can't have that. You have to have no more than 9 tens in the tens column, so the 10 tens have to go into the hundreds column, and we show that with the little red 1 over here. So the 4 from that answer goes into the answer line. Okay. On to the hundreds. 2 times 4 is 8. Add on the 1 that we had renamed previously to give us 9. So shown here as a written column method, the answer is 946. So that's one method you can use to work that out. But obviously remember that's only times 2, and we needed to know times 4, so you would have to double the answer. Let's look at the next method. Here we have got a decomposing method where they have decomposed the number 473, again multiplying by 2, into 400, 70 and 3. And this method can be good if you are concentrating more on using your mental math skills rather than a formal written method. And again, they would need to double the answer to get the times 4. Or you could decompose and multiply by 4 as you went. And then finally, the last method is a column method using 473 times 4. Actually, I don't think that is the last method, but we'll get to that eventually, which is the same as we were doing with times 2, same principle, but we're now multiplying by 4. And you can see renaming here from the ones this time. 4 times 3 is 12, so they have to rename 10 of the ones into the tens column because you can't have more than 9 ones in the one column. After that you have to rename. And then 4 times 7 is 28, add 1 more is 29, so you rename that 2 into the hundreds column, and the 9 goes into the answer line. And then finally 4 times 4 is 16, add 2 is 18, so this time the 8 goes into the hundreds column answer line, and your 1000 goes into your 1000 column. Okay, let's have a look. You could also use a bar method to help you to visualize the problem, and really the bar is used just for that, just for visualizing. It's not a new way of multiplying. We still use our multiplying skills in the old way, but it's a way of visualizing how the problem would look as a picture. And for something simple as multiplying, it's maybe not as helpful. It might be helpful for some people, but really bar models come into their own when the problem is a little bit trickier. So they've used the answer we got from multiplying by 2, doubled it to give us the final answer. So Betty mixes 4 bottles, each containing 473 millilitres of juice. She needs a container that will hold at least 1,892 millilitres. Okay, so you can refer back to any of that if you're not sure as you're working your way through your work today. Guided practice, we've got a couple of multiplications there, 268 times 3, and this time they've used a decomposing method, which you should be able to use, and 7 times 268. And this time they've started it with the 7 just to make sure that you're paying attention, because as you know, the commutative law will tell you it doesn't matter which order you multiply it in, you will get the same answer. Just be aware of that. Okay, so have a go at these and then you'll move on to there's a few more examples for you to do in the guided practice. Here we have got 8 times 532, so we've got a column method where they just want you to break down the answers into each of the steps. There, again, nothing you haven't done before. Oops, sorry, let me go back again. And then here you have to make up your own multiplication equation where the product must be less than 1,000. And of course, in case you've forgotten, product is the proper mathematical term for the answer. So you need to make up your own multiplication and the answer has to be less than 1,000. Okay, and this challenge is to see if you can do that by using different digits in every single box, so you're not repeating any of the digits. Right, let's have a quick look at the worksheet so you know what's coming. Pretty straightforward, things that you have done before. They're using a decomposing method. Don't forget you can do jottings in your jotter to help you work things out and make notes. It doesn't all have to just be on the sheet. You also don't have to print the worksheet. You can just write the answers into your book as well. And that's the second page where they move on to a column method again. Oops, something you should be familiar with. When you get down here, again, I would highly stress that you probably want to use some sort of jottings. Don't try and do this in your head. You'll probably get into a bit of a mess. So do have a go in your jotters with some working out. Don't just try and do it in your head. Right, when you've done the worksheet, I've got some journal activity for you, and I just did a little reminder of what journal activities are in case you haven't done any recently. We've done quite a lot in year 3, so let's have a look. So this is the question I want you to answer, and I have given you here an example of what a good answer would look like for a different question, but I give you some ideas of what I'm looking for. And it's a bit like your Maths No Problem Let's Learn part, where they show you different methods to do the same thing. So when you're asked a journal question, what we're looking for you to do is to give perhaps 3 examples, and in your examples you can use pictures, diagrams, words to help you explain, and then an explanation at the bottom or a conclusion, what you found out from there. So if you're not sure what you're doing, have a look at mine that I did as an example to show you what sort of thing we're expecting. There's 3 methods here and there's an explanation at the bottom. Okay, once you've done that, I've got a couple of examples of what journals can look like in children's books, so you get an idea of what we're after. In my class, they usually put method 1, method 2, method 3, so the work's well organised. And then finally, right at the bottom, I've got the answers. No peeking until you've done it all. Oops, that might have been a peek. And that is it. I hope it all goes well today. Let me know how you got on, and I shall see you tomorrow.